let's start to visit the heart of the sun. We are going to present this body, this planet, considering these directions. And we in the planetary system group did for all the planets, as DK suggests to do that, to collect all the information about one topic. And so we did for the 12 signs, the 12 rulers of planets and so on. And so let's start. Okay. First of all, in the present solar system, Vulcan is the sacred vehicle, soul level, of the first ray, connected to will and power, linking to Pluto, the non-sacred first ray personality, planet with the personality of first ray. There is only one planet, Vulcan, which is distinctly and purely first ray energy. The first ray, which is to all intents and purposes, the energy of divine embodied will, which has been esoterically described as unavoidable directed purpose. So this is the solar unavoidable directed purpose. Within our solar system, Vulcan and Pluto are expressions or custodians of this first ray energy and are esoteric planets. So even if Pluto has this non-sacred name or connotation, is indicated as an esoteric planet as Vulcan. The first indication of the true spiritual will only begins to manifest upon the path of discipleship. Hence, the late discovery of these two planets, as Walter was pointing out, late in point of time and from the angle of human knowledge, for it is only in this Aryan race period that humanity is to any large extent beginning to manifest evidence, and as yet it is no more of a reaction or a response to the spiritual will of deity as it comes to our planet and hence to us via Aries, Vulcan, and Pluto. The will aspect, as it is embodied in the rays and transmitted by the constellations, works out destructively when concentrated through an orthodox planet and constructively, so Pluto, when concentrated through an esoteric planet. Here you have the secret guide to the significance of death and immortality. So here we have an indication that Vulcan is the giver of immortality. The solar will gives immortality. Just a quotation about the first ray, very interesting. The energy of will of power. This ray is outstandingly related to that aspect of will which conquers death, immortality. It is nevertheless the ray of the destroyer. The human attitude that death is the destroyer presents a limited and erroneous point of view. The first ray destroys death, because in reality, there is no such thing. The concept is all part of the great illusion. It is in a very true sense a figment of the imagination. Ponder on this. The abolition of death and of the destruction of form is a manifestation of ray first, for it brings about, in reality, the death of negation and the inauguration of true activity, through the soul activity. It is the energy which can be called divine incentive. And it is the life in the seed which destroys successively all forms in order that realized fruition may eventuate. That is the clue to Ray First. It is the will which initiates. Today, as regards humanity, its highest realization is initiation. So Ray First is that which incites to and produces initiation. So another quality or function of Vulcan is to give initiation. The first logos is the ray of cosmic will. His mode of action is a literal driving forward of the solar ring pass knot through space. And until the end of this Mahamantara, or Day of Brahma, the logoic cycle, we shall not be able to conceive of the first aspect of will or power as it really is. So another name for this quality and energy of Vulcan, will dynamically applied emerges in manifestation as power. It is a ray of such dynamic intensity that we call it the ray of the destroyer. Let's see this association to Taurus as the hierarchical ruler of Taurus. So the Taurus-Vulcan relationship among the 12 creative hierarchies or units of life that form the very body of expression of our solar logos on the astral cosmic and physical cosmic planes expresses the action of the unmanifest third hierarchy, the 10th from below, associated with the cosmic fifth ray, light through knowledge. So let's imagine this light through knowledge that destroys negation, death, limits. Of this hierarchy, we know nothing beyond the fact that it is concerned with the light which liberates from death. That's it. Therefore, you have Taurus, illumination, Vulcan, first ray or endurance, third creative hierarchy, liberating light. Very illuminating, this indication. Especially for us, which we humanity, we are the third planetary center, and the vision, the eye, the light is really one of our main energies. Okay, let's consider the cosmic relations. Oh, there is a mistake here. Of Vulcan. You have the following direct line of will energy. The pointer furthest from the pole star in the constellation of the Great Bear, which is the star Merak. This is, esoterically speaking, a great reservoir or focal point for divine energy carrying out God's purpose. The pointer nearest to the pole star, Dubhe, is expressive of a lower aspect of the will, which in speaking of humanity, we call self-will. Then, after the Great Bear pointers, we have Aries, in which the will to create or to manifest makes its appearance and the great divine experiment is initiated. And then in the solar system, we have these two agents of transmission of the first ray. Vulcan and Pluto are related to the two pointers and are only now beginning, as we saw, in any definite and clear manner to affect human response. Their effect has been planetary in its nature up to date and has not hitherto been at all effective in either the fourth or the second kingdoms in nature. And then we have Shambhala, the planetary head center, the custodian of the plan for our planet and of the purpose, as we know. Let's now consider the systemic relations As we know, there are 7 sacred planets, but 10 planetary schemes, which are the very etheric centers of the solar logos. And in 3 cases, those of the 3 major rays, 3 planets constitute the personality of each ray life. The potency of this ray life is such that he or she or it requires 3 complete schemes, all 3 closely allied and interdependent, through which to express himself. Since Uranus, Jupiter, and Venus are associated to manifest the great second ray life, Decay says that, as well as Saturn, Mars, and Earth, we can see here in colors, here the 3rd ray, here the 2nd ray, and here we have the supposed 3 schemes of the 1st ray. It can be assumed that the 1st ray life is represented by the remaining patterns of Vulcan, Mercury, and Neptune. Neptune as the 2nd scheme of the 3 of the synthesis and vector of the divine ray of the present 2nd solar system. It can therefore be assumed that for the life of the 1st ray of our 2nd solar system, we could say that the mental body expresses itself through Neptune as the highest body. So Neptune in the 3 schemes of the synthesis. The astral body may express itself through Mercury, and the physical body through Vulcan, but we can also switch these 2 as we don't have indications. But as Uranus and Saturn are allegedly associated to the mental bodies of these 1st, 2nd, and 3rd ray lives, we can think that Neptune, even if it's more astrally comprehended, can represent the mental body of this 1st ray. And it's interesting that quotation from A Treatise of Cosmic Fire, where Neptune and Vulcan are put in a polarity, expressing the mystery of the highest matter, which is spirit, and of the lowest spirit, which is matter or substance. So in any case, from the point of view of the planets transmitting the 1st ray in this cycle, we have Vulcan, soul of 1st ray, Pluto, personality of 1st ray, and our Earth, which is indicated as a monad of 1st ray, forming a triangle of power, as well as ultimately to Uranus, 1st scheme of the synthesis. In that case, we can assume that in the next solar system, maybe the 1st ray mental body will express through the Earth, Gaia, consort, and later substitute for Uranus. The 1st ray astral body will itself express itself through Vulcan, and the 1st ray physical body will express itself through Pluto. Just hypothesis, but in considering Vulcan, we have to fly high, so to speak, because it's really about the highest will and the highest concept transmitted by the esoteric astrology. Okay, let's now consider Vulcan as a ruler. As we know, Taurus is the only sign that has Vulcan as a main transmitter, but also the moon veiling Vulcan can and has to be named as a agent of transmission of this first ray. Okay, Vulcan is the esoteric ruler and hierarchical ruler of Taurus, thus connected to Pisces through Pluto here and here. Hierarchically, the ruler is Vulcan, conditioning the planet and determining the fact that man is the macrocosm of the microcosm and that the fourth kingdom fashions or conditions all subhuman kingdoms. The head center of disciples and initiates is ruled by Vulcan, the lord of fire and solar will, the heart of the sun, symbol for the soul, the golden egg shaped by the monad on the higher monastic plane. The esoteric ruler of Taurus is Vulcan, the forger of metals, the one who works in the densest, most concrete expression of the natural world from the human angle. He is the one who goes down into the depths to find the material upon which to expand his innate art and to fashion that which is beautiful and useful. Wonderful formula for the action of Vulcan or the soul onto the personality. Vulcan is therefore that which stands for the soul, the individual, inner, spiritual man. In his activity, we find the key to the soul's task upon the eternal round of the wheel of life. You will remember how Hercules, upon the fixed cross, had to fashion his own weapons before he succeeded in the struggle. This is in reality a reference to the art of Vulcan, who rules the inner man and guides his fashioning. Vulcan has the fashioner of divine expression. In a peculiar sense, the energy which streams from Vulcan is fundamentally the strength and potency which sets the world evolutionary process in motion. Is the divine incentive, is really Taurus Vulcan pushing or causing this world evolutionary process. Vulcan also rules nations at a certain stage of embryonic soul expression, such as the present, and governs their activities, fashioning, again this verb, the instruments of war, when war and conflict are the only means whereby liberation can come, through who betide those through whom wars come. Vulcan then takes hold and since the Middle Ages has brought the mineral kingdom, the depths from which supply must come, under human control. Again, some relationships between Taurus and Pisces. Through Vulcan and Pluto are connected to the first ray, desire transmuted into sacrifice and individual will into divine will. In Taurus, the Buddha conquered desire and achieved enlightenment. In Pisces, the Christ conquered death and became savior of the world, immortality, giving us the possibility to immortality through love. It is on the initiatory path that we perceive the simultaneous action of all the crosses through the powers unleashed by Taurus, Libra, and Pisces, and the influence of the first and seventh ray. Uranus, esoteric ruler of Libra, yeah, and hierarchical of Aries. Specifically, the ray of power that comes to our solar system from the star Merak of Ursa Major and the sign of Aries becomes light of life, the light of life, through the Vulcan-Taurus relationship. The energy of the first ray initiates and at the same time destroys and putting to death the form in order to liberate the soul. Also, Virgo is related to Taurus for Vulcan, veiled by its esoteric ruler, the moon, which brings in what might be called the endurance aspect of the will to be, which carries the incarnated Son of God through the experiences of the dark time, wherein the personality becomes the mother in the stage of this gestation, through the period of infancy, upon the physical plane, and through the stage of adolescence, until the initiate attains full maturity. This necessitates persistence, endurance, and continuity of effort. That is the gifts of Vulcan to us, and is one of the characteristics imparted or stimulated by energies pouring from Vulcan. Okay, here is a table that unites astrology and the science of harmonics as we developed in our studies. Let's go on here. Of course, the conjuncture is the most powerful aspect, so it's dependent or related or associated to Vulcan and Pluto, and so the others. Let's go on. Okay, here we attempted to attribute quality of Vulcan in the 12 signs. Of course, the right dimension and level is esoteric, because it's only on the level of discipleship that Vulcan becomes to be recorded and expressed by a human being. But we tried also to decline also the 12 wills of Vulcan. Probably we can say initiate, when he wants to act in the 12 houses or in the 12 signs from his high level of realization. So let's see them in a relationship. Let's begin with Aries. So Vulcan in Aries, will to progress. Esoteric, will to initiate into the fiery power of ideas. Vulcan in its own sign is exoterically will to sublimate desire. Esoterically will to release light and beauty, the fourth ray. In Gemini, will to harmonize the opposites. Esoterically, will to unify with the intellect of love, which is Venus. Venus united to Mercury, which is the exoteric ruler of Gemini. Will to detachment, moon. Vulcan with Neptune, will to spiritualize substance. In Leo, Vulcan with sun, exoteric sun, will to irradiate solar fire. Vulcan with sun veiling Neptune, will to reign from the center, which is the heart. Vulcan and Mercury in Virgo, will to shape matter. Vulcan with the moon veiling Vulcan, or will to nourish and manifest the Christ. Vulcan in Libra and Venus, will to right judgment. With Uranus, will to balance spirit and matter, the two great opposites or origins. In Scorpio, Vulcan and Mars, will to defend the good. Again with Mars, but esoteric, will to win in the name of harmony. To win in the name of harmony. In Sagittarius, with Jupiter, will to attract to the goal, or to expand to the goal. With our Earth, will to direct to truth. Capricorn, Saturn, exoteric, will to rise to the summit. Saturn, esoteric, will to assert the supernal light. With Uranus, Aquarius, will to coordinated cooperation. With Jupiter, will to serve to realize brotherhood. With Jupiter or Neptune, will to sympathy or mercy or compassion, but we associate compassion to Neptune in Pisces. That's why we chose this word, sympathy. And Pluto, with Pluto, will to save in order to free, to give freedom. So these are hypotheses, but it's good to consider them as a whole. So we know that it is the work of the zodiacal influences to evoke the emergence of the will aspect of the heavenly man and of all monads, souls, and personalities who constitute the planetary body of expression. It's a great indication. And he says that the activation, we can think that activation of the will energy, Vulcan, in the disciple humanity comes, as the case says, through the esoteric rulers of the 12 branches of the three crosses. So we created these 12 formulas of power to be asserted in the here and now, and especially to be activated in every month and sign. So now we are in Gemini, and so Gemini for Venus in the mutable cross will to unify with the intellect of life. That's the work to do in this month if we want to serve the planet, activating the will aspect of the soul in us. Again, hypothesis of working. Okay, I'm okay with the time. Okay, and now let's consider some notes and correspondences of Vulcan. It's a synthesis, but okay, again, will. Taurus forges, as we saw, the instruments of constructive living or of destruction. It forges the chains which bind or creates the key which unlocks the mystery of life. It is this forging process with its consequent clamor, which is going on at this time in a most potent manner. Vulcan controls the anvil-like processes of time and strikes the blow which shapes the metal into that which is desire. And this is true today as never before. And also today, because it was written the last century, but it is true today as never before, also because Uranus, the other highest first ray, is in Taurus from 2018 till the crucial 2025. So it's really very powerful, this process. Okay, embodying in itself the will of God, which is the divine will to good, to peace through understanding, and to right relations between men and between nations in due time. Vulcan manages and is the solar will. Okay, another key, but we go on because I'm afraid not to have time enough, is the initiator. So he rules with Pluto the first initiation, but mainly the fourth initiation with Taurus, and is the planet of isolation. It governs the fourth initiation, wherein the depths of aloneness are plumbed and the man stands completely isolated. So let's go on, but you will find in the PDF I sent to Michael. Okay, so this fourth initiation has been called in the Christian phraseology the Gethsemane experience, the Christ kneeling beside the rock, symbolic of the depths of the mineral kingdom and of the activity of Vulcan, the fashioner, raises his eyes upward to where the light of revelation breaks forth and knows at that moment that what it is he has to do. Such is the test of Vulcan ruling Taurus, of the soul ruling desire of the Son of God, fashioning his instrument of expression in the depths, grasping the divine purpose, and so bending the will of the little self to that of the greater self. Oops, sorry. Okay. Okay. So it is spoken of sometimes as being veiled by the sun, and at others it stands for the sun itself. It stands between the man and the sun, the soul. Very interesting. The will stands between the man or personality and the sun, the soul. Therefore, we have in this connection three symbols of the light. Taurus, the eye of illumination or light, the bull's eye, illumination, exoterically, the physical sun. Vulcan, the one who reveals that which is deeply hidden and brings it up into the light, esoterically, is the heart of the sun, the soul aspect. And then we have the sun, here not considered this physical sun, but of course the central spiritual sun, the great illuminator. Here it's another hypothesis. In esoteric astrology, Vulcan is not indicated to rule any astrological house, which we know are the fields of expression of personality. When the individual becomes an initiate, however, the houses become the spheres of expression of the will of the soul and of the esoteric 12 rulers of the signs through the exoteric 12. As the luminary planet or systemic counterpart of Taurus, one can then consider Vulcan along with Venus, the exoteric ruler, as the co-ruler of the second house, that of the power of desire and buddhic resources of the individual and of the soul itself. Vulcan is the inner power, the will that transcends desire and extracts spiritual values from the depths. And regarding correspondences, we have seen here is ruling the head center of the disciples and initiates, but also rules the parathyroids near to the thyroid gland, which is ruled by Saturn. And here is very interesting. It acts as a mediator between the higher and the lower creative organs, this center, between the sacral and the throat centers, and leads eventually to that creative activity, which is consciously that of the functioning soul. Vulcan was one of the first creative workers among men. He was also related to Cain, who killed his brother. So it's really the higher will which supersedes the lower activity. Okay, Vulcan rules the mineral kingdom with Pluto. We go on because the time runs. Here only, Vulcan establishes a relation between the fourth kingdom nature and the first. This therefore brings in the Shambhala force, and you consequently have an esoteric triangle of energy, will, humanity, and the mineral kingdom. And so in the World War II, this came into play. Okay. Humanity had gone down into the caves and the depths of concretion and is ready now for an upward shift or move, this time consciously taken and taken all together. Okay, some symbols and myths. Okay, Vulcan is the energy of the directing dynamic impulse. Vulcan represents the energy that penetrates matter and forges it to extract its essence, freeing life from identification with form. It's the fiery engine that leads to the realization of the evolutionary solar plan. It is the principle underlying every formal manifestation. Okay. The physical sun can be regarded as the phenomenal and symbolic appearance of Vulcan, and as such, represent the veil that conceals it from the eyes and consciousnesses not yet capable of sustaining its power and energetic voltage. The main characteristics of the sun, dispenser of energy, heat and light, as well as the center of the planetary system that it governs with its magnetism, and by analogy with the vital core of the individual, refer to Vulcan itself as the pulsating, volitional, subjective, and creative heart of the star, through which it manifests. Being hidden or veiled even by Mercury, which at the geocentric level never deviates from the sun more than 28th of elongation, one can see the relationship between the sun and Mercury in a chart too as the space or qualitative interval sacred to Vulcan. Okay, we know that Vulcan is never distant from the sun more than 8 degrees or such before or after. So it can be also in the previous sign if we are born close to a cusp of the sign. Okay, Vulcan is the ancient Roman deity who oversees natural phenomena that have fire as their primary element, eruption of volcanoes and manifestations of terrestrial fire, as well as works of metallurgy. The god, as symbol of fire that devours and destroys, represented the destructive power of nature and subterranean forces, and was honored as a fearsome power that needed to be appeased and propitiated, and to whom sacrifices were made so that he would keep fires at bay. This is also why shrines dedicated to Vulcan in Rome and ancient Italy were located outside or at the outer limits of city walls. Assimilated to the Greek god Hephaestus, in classical times, Vulcan also assumed its mythology, thus finding itself considered the son of Jupiter and Juno, second ray of the second system incarnation of the solar logos. That's why it was considered the son of Jupiter and Juno, and the husband of Venus, ruling together the sign of Taurus. His mythical forge, where he worked metals and forged weapons for gods and heroes, was thought to be located under Mount Volcano Etna in Sicily, Italy. Hephaestus learned the art of using fire, forging weapons, and making jewels and amulets, through which he also practiced magic. Metallurgy and magic are related as they both change the state of metal. Okay, here are a long list of gifts that Vulcan forged for the gods. I leave you for later to read, and we go on. Here is interesting. In the myth, Venus, Aphrodite, is the bride of Vulcan, Hephaestus, but she conjoins with Mars, Ares, at night for fear of the sun, Phoebus, revealing it to her rightful spouse, symbolic of the dual function of the desire mind, serving the procreation of form by the lower center's passions, or serving the law of the soul and the higher centers, will and purpose, Vulcan or Mars. Sex and Maya, the great illusion of appearance, both aspects of the great law of attraction, must finally be brought back to the light of right understanding. So Venus go back to her spouse Vulcan. Okay, etymology of Vulcan gives association with this fulgur, Latin fulgur, and Sanskrit bragate, flago, Greek, and in synthesis means the fulgent, the blazing, again with fire. Some notes about the planet. From a physical point of view, its existence is not proven by astronomical science, not yet at least, nor by orthodox astrology. Although in 1859, the astronomer Leverrier believed he had detected it based on some anomalies in Mercury's motion, including calculating its revolution around our star in 19 days and 17 hours. That's why we have the ephemerides in the programs of astrology. The esoteric teaching places Vulcan next to the sun. Vulcan is in the orbit of Mercury, so between the, okay. Here we have some notes about the orbit of Vulcan. And here is a study that Italian disciple did about the 7 possible orbits of the 7 luminaries, 7 sacred planets. So Vulcan is first ray, first orbit, and so on the other. So the solar center is assigned the name Vulcan, which is meaningful since it is the source from which cosmic energy circulates in the system. The center of a mobile system in space is a spatial site, which cannot be precisely located. Its actual location is always secret. The center is the non-site, and it is everywhere. The center, indeed, is an immanent as it is transcendent. So we can say that Sun Vulcan is the center of the centers of its space, is continually urged on by impetuous discharges of energy produced by the incessant and simultaneous activity of the minor centers of its system, planets and other solar beings, which revolving around it target it, zapping it with ever and gradually varying zodiacal energetic qualities. Subjected to such multiple and continuous discharges of very high potential energy, the sun, endowed, in comparison with the planets, with a very great receptive capacity, absorbs the greatest part of it and literally goes on fire. It sets itself on fire. We are close to the end. Okay, so Sun Vulcan lives on a cosmic pyre from which it directs and turns all things to the best. This is a text on a heliocentric astrology written by Astrosophy. And so we finish saying that Vulcan fashions that which is beautiful and useful. Uranus in Taurus, as I said, joining Alcyone in the Pleiades at the end of 2025, which is said the center of the 7 solar systems, so the cosmic system we belong to, impresses this heavenly decree unto matter till the depths of the physical world. So glory to our Vulcan of life. Thank you.
Antonella, thank you. That is exactly what I hoped for in terms of a deeper, a profound depth of understanding about Vulcan. That was such a gift to us. And I think I took about 72 pages of notes. And, you know, it's like every time we return, every year that we return, it just deepens and deepens and deepens. And I think we're all ready for another level of understanding around Vulcan. And what visuals, it was so beautiful. Thank you.
We are ready to discover it.
Yes, that's what it feels like. That's exactly right.
Science is ready to discover. So yeah. Thank you.